The OnePlus 15 is a phone that doesn't make any sense, at least not at first. On one hand, you get groundbreaking specs like a 7300 mAh of battery and the best possible chip in an Android phone. But on the other hand, they've downgraded the cameras and axed every single feature that made OnePlus iconic. The alert slider is gone, the Hasselblad camera software is gone, even the distinctive camera design is also gone. And I think I know why. Because OnePlus and Oppo finally merged in 2021, and since then, their phones have looked more and more alike. Now I've got this in black, an all matte finish that is 100% fingerprint proof, and so far at least, pretty much scratch resistant unless it falls hard on the floor like mine did, and then you have a permanent scar on your phone. OnePlus replaced the camera design with a more conformist, generic design, and I'm not exactly mad at it. The previous design had a lot of character, but this, to be fair, is a lot cleaner. I do like the flat edges on this phone because it makes it easier to handle. It is also noticeably thinner than the OnePlus 13, which is impressive when you consider the battery upgrade. The speakers are really good this year. The output is crispier and a lot fuller. It is more balanced than the OnePlus 13. I actually find myself using the speakers more and more because they sound really, really good. Now, OnePlus also went ham on the IP rating this year. You get a full suite of IP66, 68, 69, and a new IP69K protection, which basically means you're protected against the usual dust and moisture, but also if you forget this in a laundry load, you'll be just fine. Now on the sides, you have the volume and the power button, and on the left side, instead of the trademark alert slider, you get a plus key, a very generic plus key. Now I'm going to miss the alert slider, and judging by the reactions of my last video, I'm not the only one that thinks the alert slider should have stayed on the OnePlus 15. However, the plus key is a very nifty feature. You can remap it to do what the alert slider did. You can put it on silent, vibrates, you can change it to your camera, you can change it to anything that you want, so far it works for you. All of this is similar to the snap key on the Oppo Find X series, so on the design front, you have pretty much the same phone in different fonts. And it's the same thing with the software. And this one, it's not even new, because Oxygen OS is becoming more and more like Color OS with each passing time. And if you guys are still watching and you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like this video. So OnePlus absolutely crushed it here when it comes to the performance. First, you get a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, and the OnePlus 15 is one of the first Android phones in 2025 to get it. OnePlus also backed it with a custom triple chipset configuration, a 4.6 GHz clock speed, a UFS 4.1 storage, a dedicated touch response chip, and a 165 Hz refresh rate, also a first for an Android phone. Since I've been using this phone for the last 30-ish days, OnePlus's strategy has become ever so clear. So since the merger with Oppo, OnePlus has more or less positioned themselves as a performance brand, the best of the best specs, while Oppo will focus on the camera, the design, and the lenses, because every single thing about the performance of the OnePlus 15 screams exactly that. The beefed up chip, the touch response upgrade, the higher refresh rate, they're all targeted towards power users. OnePlus partnered with pro gamers for the OnePlus 15 launch, and the marketing speak is big on this phone being Elite Esports certified. And that all makes sense because 165 Hz doesn't make that much of a difference if all you're doing is scrolling through Instagram and sending emails. In fact, the screen by default is 120 Hz for everyday activities, but with games like Genshin Impact, Call of Duty that actually support a higher frame rate, that's where you see the difference. Now, I played for 45 minutes on Call of Duty and the phone did not throttle once. Gameplay stayed smooth the entire time, there were barely any stutters, and there were no UI freezes or lags. The symmetrical bezels make the screen feel edge to edge, which is exactly what you want when you're gaming on your phone. Visuals are stunning on the 6.78-inch AMOLED display, and with up to 1800 nits of peak brightness, you can even keep playing outdoors. I also really like the in-game control panels. You can tweak your resolution, switch refresh rates, or turn on the Hyper Response Engine to make touch inputs crazy responsive, all without leaving the game. That's such a game-informed move. Props to OnePlus for the R&D on that department. With the 7300 mAh of battery, you have more than enough juice to handle the extra drain, and the massive vapor chamber cooling system to keep things from getting heated. Now with everything, there's always a catch. Now to achieve that 165 Hz refresh rate, OnePlus stepped down the resolution slightly to what they're calling a 1.5K display. Instead of 1440p, the OnePlus gets up to 1272p. Now, according to them, pushing a 2K panel at 165Hz isn't technically possible right now in 2025, and less pixels means less work for the GPU to push, so maintaining that buttery smooth 160Hz display becomes way easier. Performance-wise, OnePlus clearly had a plan, and they're doubling down on gaming and sustained performance, but there's another catch, and I hinted at it earlier. Yeah, the camera is where things get very, very, very disappointing. Like, it is so disappointing, I'm here wondering, why does this even exist? Okay, OnePlus downgraded the camera hardware this year, significantly by the way. It's still a triple camera setup, you get a 50 megapixel across the board, but every single sensor is smaller than the OnePlus 13 that came out last year. And this isn't even speculation. There's a teardown video by Weki Home, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right, and that proves it technically. The main sensor went from one 1.4 inch to one 1.56 inch. The telephoto lens dropped from one 1.95 inches to 1.275 inches. That's a massive reduction and it shows in the results. Now the shots aren't as crispy, low light performance is noticeably worse, colors lack the vibrancy and depth you expect from a flagship phone, details fall apart faster when you zoom in or you're shooting in very challenging conditions. It's not just good. For comparison, this is the same picture on the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and there is a clear difference. So for casual pictures or for people that just want to post on social media, the OnePlus 15 will work. But for anything more serious, I think this is the weaker part of the phone. Video is also not good. You do get LUT previews, which feels like a useless Pro Edition when the underlying sensor can't back it up. It also shoots 8K at 30 frames per second, but let's be honest, 8K video is mostly marketing at this point. For everyday recording, it's pretty decent, not impressive, but just decent. The 32 megapixel selfie camera is okay, but the pictures have this distinct processing to them that feels overly smooth. Now the Hasselblad partnership is gone, so there's no signature color science, there is no tuning that makes the OnePlus camera feel premium. It just feels like vibes at this point. So here's the full picture. Oppo and OnePlus merged together as a company, and you would think that they would compete with themselves, but instead they decided to divide the market. Oppo would more or less focus on the camera, the design, the lenses, and anything that has to do with software, while OnePlus will focus on performance and gaming. That's why the cameras got worse on the OnePlus 15. That's why the Hasselblad logo is not there anymore. That's why the alert slider is just gone. OnePlus removed the quirks that made them who they are. They downsized the camera and poured everything into making a phone for mobile gamers, power users who care more about the battery life and sustained performance than camera quality. And if you're in that audience, I think the OnePlus 15 is impossible to beat. At $899, it is $400 cheaper than the S25 Ultra. And for what it does well, gaming, battery life, and sustained performance, nobody else does it like them on the market. That being said, if you love camera quality, you love your pictures, you love your videos, this phone is not for you. And speaking of the S25 Ultra, I compared both phones. I can click a video right here, or if you want to see a OnePlus 13 review, which I think is still a good phone in 2025, you can click right here. Thank you guys for watching all my videos. My name is KJ, and I'll see you guys in the next one.